This year's Monster Pods are brought to you by the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge and our friends over at twinspires.com. The KDBC is back this year with a guaranteed $250,000 purse. Head over to twinspires.com today, click the tournaments tab, and get all the information you need on how to buy in or qualify for horse racing's newest major tournament. Continuing on with our stroll through the also eligible runners for this year's Kentucky Derby, we get to Ocelli. I want to say Ocelli, but I think they say Ocelli. This one coming here off a third place finish in the Wood Memorial, marooned on the A's for now. In fact, this video will only see the light of day in the unlikely event he should draw in. But in any case, the audio listeners will get to hear these takes. I'm not seeing a whole lot here, Eric, to make a case. Of course, I probably would have told you the same thing about a horse named Rich Strike a few years ago. Tell me what you think of Ocelli.
He's a maiden, right? It's hard to make a big case for a maiden in the Derby, and I don't think he has much of a case at all. The one thing he's got going for him is endless stamina, it seems like, and a deep closing running style, which in the Kentucky Derby, a lot of horses can move themselves up just by the fact they're passing tired horses late. That's what he kind of did in the Wood Memorial, made a strong move around the turn, finished up well, just caught two horses better on the day, but it was still a very encouraging race, a career best, no doubt. So you do like to see some upward trajectory, and his two stake starts before that left a lot to be desired. Virginia Derby, he was kind of marooned outside throughout there on the wider part of the track. That didn't help him, but was never going to be involved there. So the one thing he has going for him is a running style where he can come pick up some pieces late. Whether that's enough to factor in wagers, hard to say, because that's the Derby. These closers can come from anywhere. But definitely better than some of maybe the other AEs, in my opinion, in terms of their possible finishing position in the Derby.
Hey, it wouldn't be the first time we saw that number 21, Saddletell, scything through the lane if that scenario develops. But I'm going to hold your feet to the fire on the key question you just mentioned. If this horse gets in, will there be any 21s on your ticket?
I'd still have to drop the pace a little bit more and see how I felt like everyone else would be impacted. A lot of horses in this year's Derby want to be forward, but maybe don't want to lead. Who gets the trouble? Who doesn't? Can he make out a trip from wherever he draws to maybe pick up fifth? And then hopefully I got the other four spots right.
So you'll leave him in the bottom of super high fives is what you're saying?
At most, yes. But that would be it.
I'm saying 21 so confidently. I guess theoretically he could be a number 22. Anyway, forget the numbers. I just didn't want to have to guess whether it was Ocelli or Ocelli one more time in this video. But that's probably enough about him. A pass for me, a deep backup for the lowest rungs of the exotics for Eric. Eric, thanks once again for your time.
Thank you.
It would be a stunning upset if this video ever sees the light of day. It would be a stunning upset if Robusta were to win the Kentucky Derby. Hey, we've seen similar before. If we were recording this video at the same equivalent time a couple of years ago, I might have said the same thing about Rich Strike. So we will talk about Robusta with our ITM top 10 creator and overall behind the scenes MVP. I'm just going to say it, though Mikey Probosi probably is technically the MVP. But anyway, you're right there with him. Eric DeCoster, how are things, bud?
Things are good. Mikey's absolutely the MVP. You know, I'm happy to take second, third, fourth place on that one. Mike's number one.
What do you think about this horse? Am I wrong to be so dismissive? Talk us through his recent form.
Not really, unfortunately for him. I mean, these are connections. Calumet Farm, Brad Kelly, Doug O'Neill. They like to take a big swing if they can. This horse did run a good second behind Potente in the San Felipe 2 starts ago. Unfortunately, the races around that don't suggest he's going to run a big race in the Kentucky Derby. Really disappointing in the Santa Anita Derby, where he had a good trip overall, just never fired behind So Happy, and then the aforementioned Potente. If there was something to that San Felipe that we can't crack, that's the only thing that would maybe suggest he runs a big race, but I don't see a conceivable way on paper that this horse factors in this year's race.
I think that's fair. You know, I should have asked you this on the video that would definitely have seen the light of day we recorded 15 minutes ago, but I'll ask you now. You know, you created these top 10s for us all season long. Would your top 10 have changed since the last one we published? And do you have a suggested wager or horse? Have you settled on one for the Derby, or are you going to wait for the draw?
I'll wait for the draw. My top 10 not really changing, to be honest. I think in my heart of hearts, I want Incredible to win. To really back up all the work we've done here. I think he's a very talented horse, but I know that there are holes in his form that I have to consider. And so, yeah, this is about as wide open of a Derby as I can remember. The last few years, it's been pretty clear cut in my eyes who I thought would run well and who wouldn't. This year, I think for 15 of the 20 horses, I could make a strong case for them and a strong case against them at the same time. So it's a fun, fascinating race that can go a lot of ways.
I'll say this, though, that does just what you said there makes me think, and this is how my opinion is coming around too, that it is a Derby where you probably don't want the tippy top of the market. As live as Renegade may be, it feels like I'm not going to make him my Derby pick. I think I'm going to make my Derby pick Chief Wallaby. I mean, this is a horse we've been talking about ever since that first race. And then what's pushed me over the top in that regard is the stride data and how much measurably of the horses that fit in traditional handicapping, he by far has the best stride data in terms of his predicted ability to go the 10, in terms of potentially having an elite stride length. Those things both look good. And there's also like a really compelling narrative. I think it's really interesting on stride data how he had the best stride data of the ones coming out of the Florida Derby, and like rewatching it with that in mind did really seem to idle. And that's where these blinkers going on, and then having that work in these blinkers, it's all fitting into a story that makes sense in my brain. He's going to catch a ton of money, I think. Not like, eight. I think he's going to be single digits, 8-1 type, as opposed to the 15-1 I was hoping for. But having said all that, I think that stride length data is not going to be properly priced in. So whatever he is, I think you could probably argue he should still be a tick lower. That would make him value. I'm going to go with him. You're buying my case at all?
Absolutely. I think that there's so many years where the workouts are workouts, right? But this year it's felt like there's a bunch of horses who've moved up or maybe even shot themselves in the foot a little bit with their workouts. And Chief Wallaby with that last breeze, really, really sharp. And with how late developing this crop is, those types of things matter. And so, no, I could definitely see him get the perfect trip on Derby Day with the right post and see Bill Mott, Junior Alvarado go back to back.
It'd be something else, wouldn't it? But yeah, that explanation of the narrative, because I always think that when you look at the stride data, well, how can they be striding better if they're not finishing better? And the idea would be, well, maybe there's some sort of lack of focus. Well, what could improve that? Blinkers, Mott figuring out it all just makes sense. Eric, thank you so much for your yeoman's work all year long on the In the Money Media Network.
Thank you.